You know that feeling? It's usually about 2:14 in the morning. You're lying there, the house is quiet, but your brain is basically running a marathon. You start doing this weird, frantic mental math. If the car insurance comes out on Tuesday, and I don't buy those shoes, and if I can just stretch that last grocery haul until Friday, will I have enough? Your chest feels tight, your breathing is a little shallow, and suddenly you're wide awake, wondering how you ended up as an adult who is still, somehow, afraid of an ATM screen. Honestly, it's exhausting. We live in this world that demands we have it all figured out, but nobody actually gives us the manual. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, human psychology, and why some people seem to glide through financial challenges while others are constantly gripped by this low-grade fever of bank account anxiety. I've been on both sides of that fence, and what I've realized is that the stress isn't actually about the math. It's about the stories we tell ourselves. Today, I want to take a walk through how we can actually stop that 2 a.m. mental math for good. We're going to look at the steps, not just the save more cliches, because we've all heard those, but the actual psychological shifts and the boring but beautiful systems that take the weight off your shoulders. By the end of this, I want you to feel like you can finally exhale. The first thing we have to do, and this is the part everyone avoids, is look at the ghost. You know what I mean? It's that unopened pile of mail on the kitchen counter. It's the banking app you haven't logged into for 3 days because you're pretty sure you have enough, but you don't want to confirm it. We stress about money because we treat it like a monster under the bed. As long as the lights are off, that monster is 10 feet tall with giant teeth. But when you turn the light on, it's usually just a dusty sock and a discarded shoe. Basically, the first step to stopping the stress is the great inventory. You need to sit down, grab a beer, a tea, whatever makes you feel brave, and list every single debt, every single recurring bill, and every single dollar of income. It sounds painful, right? It kind of is for about 10 minutes. But then a weird thing happens. The unknown becomes known. Stress thrives in the fog. When you define the problem, the panic starts to subside because your brain can finally stop imagining the worst-case scenario and start dealing with reality. I remember doing this years ago. I thought I was $10,000 in the hole. When I finally sat down and did the math, it was $4,200. I mean, $4,200 is still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but it was calculable. I could breathe again because I wasn't fighting a ghost. I was just looking at a number. Once you've looked the monster in the eye, we have to talk about the what-ifs. This is where the real anxiety lives. What if the water heater explodes? What if the dog eats something stupid and needs a vet? Most of us live in a state of financial fragility. It's like walking on a frozen lake where the ice is only an inch thick. Every step feels dangerous. To stop stressing, you need to thicken the ice, and you do that with what I call the peace of mind buffer. Now, every financial guru tells you to save 6 months of expenses. If you're stressed about money, hearing, "Just save $20,000" feels like being told to just fly to the moon. It's unhelpful. Instead, I want you to aim for the $1,000 threshold, or even $500. There is a profound psychological shift that happens when you know that a flat tire is no longer a crisis, but just an inconvenience. When you have a small buffer, you aren't praying for good luck anymore. You're prepared for bad luck. And that, more than anything, lowers your cortisol levels. It's the difference between being a victim of your circumstances and being a manager of them. Here's a little aside. I used to be a restrictive budgeter. I'd tell myself I couldn't spend a dime on anything fun. No coffee, no movies, no nothing. Do you know what happened? I'd behave for 2 weeks. Then I'd snap and spend $200 on something I didn't even want just to feel some sense of agency. It's like a crash diet. It never works. The stress often comes from the guilt of spending. You buy a nice dinner, and the whole time you're chewing, you're thinking about your electric bill. That's not living. That's just suffering with a side of pasta. To fix this, you need a reverse budget. Instead of tracking every penny you spent yesterday, you decide where your pennies go tomorrow. You pay your future self first, savings. You pay your bills. And then, this is the magic part, you give yourself a guilt-free spending bucket. If there's $100 in that bucket for the week, and you spend it all on a fancy Lego set or a ridiculous pair of socks, you don't get to feel stressed. Why? Because the bills are already handled. You've given yourself permission. Most people are stressed because they don't have boundaries, and without boundaries, every purchase feels like a potential mistake. Let's be real for a second. Half of our money stress isn't about our actual needs, it's about our perceived status. You're scrolling through your phone and you see an old high school friend on a boat in Greece. Or you see a neighbor with a brand new SUV in their driveway. Suddenly, your perfectly functional life feels small. You feel behind. But honestly, you have no idea what's behind that curtain. That neighbor might be financing that SUV at a 12% interest rate and losing sleep over it. That friend in Greece might be putting the whole trip on a credit card they can't pay off. We are comparing our behind-the-scenes footage with everyone else's highlight reel. To stop stressing, you have to define what a rich life looks like to you. Is it being able to work from home? Is it being able to buy the good sourdough bread without looking at the price? Is it having Saturdays off to play with your kids? Once you define your own version of enough, the pressure to keep up with the Joneses just evaporates. It's like opting out of a race you never wanted to run anyway. I'm a big fan of being lazy. Or let's call it efficiency. A huge part of money stress is the mental load. Remembering due dates, moving money to savings, checking balances. It's a lot of cognitive overhead. If you want to stop stressing, you need to automate your ecosystem. Set up your paycheck to automatically split. A portion goes to the boring stuff, bills. A portion goes to the future stuff, investments/savings, and the rest is yours to live on. When your financial life runs on autopilot, you stop having to make willpower decisions. You don't have to decide to save money this month. It's already happened before you even saw the check. It's incredible how much peace comes from just not having to think about it. You become a passive observer of your own wealth building rather than a frantic micromanager of your own poverty. We have to talk about the social side of this. A lot of our stress comes from saying yes to things we can't afford because we're embarrassed. Sure, I'll go to that $80 brunch. Yeah, I'll join the fantasy football league with the $100 entry fee. We think saying, I can't afford that, is a confession of failure. It's not. It's a declaration of priorities. There is a huge power in the phrase, that's not in the budget right now. It's not a no forever. It's just a not today. People who are secure with themselves don't mind saying it. And honestly, most of your friends will probably feel a secret sense of relief because they were stressing about the cost, too. You'll find that when you start being honest about your financial boundaries, your stress levels plummet because you're no longer performing a role. You're just being you. And you happens to have a plan. So, where does that leave us? Look, money is always going to be a part of life. It's the energy we use to trade for our time and our comforts. But it doesn't have to be the thing that keeps you up at 2 a.m. If you can just start by turning on the light, looking at the numbers, building that tiny $500 buffer, and giving yourself permission to exist without constant guilt, everything changes. It's not about becoming a billionaire. It's about becoming someone who isn't afraid of their own mailbox. You're allowed to take it slow. You're allowed to mess up. Just remember that the goal isn't just to have a bigger number in the bank. The goal is to have a quieter mind. You deserve to sleep through the night. I'd love to hear from you, though. What's the one financial rule you've tried to follow that actually made you more stressed? Drop a comment and let's talk about it. Maybe we can debunk a few more of those together. Until next time, take a deep breath. You've got this.